Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this thematic panel on solidarity-based and sustainable digital economy. My name is Dr. Cheikh Abdoul Thiaw, consultation in innovation, digital economy. I have the honor to facilitate this panel, and the discussion will be on digitalization issues, digital economy, and values of SSE. For this, we have a major topic, which is on smart and sustainable territories, thanks to digital. So this is the thread of our exchanges, but we may cover other issues. So what matters is that our exchanges is on the nexus between digital and SSE. When we talk about smart territories, the main objective is twofold. One, it's about improving the framework and quality of life of citizens, but also develop innovating services based on digital solutions, but on digital technologies as well. In this context, what about, or what are the initiatives that are popular? We're going to discuss this, and we also have the opportunity to touch on initiative at the international level. For this, we are lucky and pleased to welcome international experts that are present here, and they're active in SSE, and the objective being to discuss development perspective, and we're going to see a number of illustrations of initiatives and best practices. As a reminder, we have panel members and the audience, and the latter may bring contribution or questions on what is going to be said. Before I proceed, I'm going to hand over to my co-facilitator to say a few introductory remarks. Good afternoon. My name is Franciscom. I'm Director of Research at the Alliance Cooperative International. As you know, what is at stake on SSE is we have tried to contribute to maximize the digitalization part in order to promote cooperative tools. We are very pleased to be here with international experts to learn from them. Thank you. So we have Madame Lucienne Rattier. She's coming from Guyana, and she's responsible for digital transformation innovation at the territorial collectivity of Guyana. Thank you for being here. We have Daouda Gueye, Deputy Mayor of the City of Dakar, Madame Kolia Benet from Paris, and she's representing the Connexio company. We also have Mr. Jean-Michel Sayou, lecturer at Lyon. We have Mr. Carmen Kavila, lawyer. We have François Soulard from the Dunia Platform Institute of Economy, Mrs. Nafi Gueye, GSEF Association, Senegal, and Karim C from Jocolab Incubation. Welcome each and everyone. Thank you for being here. As you all know, our economy is marked by a digital revolution, open data, but also internet or artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies. Today, all areas taken together are concerned with an omnipresence of digital tools. Smart territory, to be a smart territory, it should be used to improve the quality of inhabitants, the efficiency of public services, and environmental sustainability by promoting innovation. To be considered as a smart territory, you need to have a clear strategy, you need to have a solid, robust digital strategy, and you need to engage the community to promote innovation and improve living conditions. Let me give you the example of Africa. It is very interesting in this regard. So it's about fighting digital divide within the population, given the purchasing power, but it's about considering handicaps. It is in sub-Saharan Africa that the development potential for digitalization is more promising. Their digital players were able to adapt. Today we're talking about 4G and GD is in the offline, in the pipeline, and they were able to find a solution. They use the mobile network to allow the population to connect via their banks and send emails. And here also they find out another solution for population education. So this is voice recognition, and the result is that are here, and mobile telephony is doing this innovation, unlike other countries that have smart territories with high broadband connection. So digitalization is a challenge in Guyana. So if we compare to SSA, our territory is an open laboratory, and in Guyana we have a long way to go. We have digital development strategy that are endorsed by the Collectivity of territory. We have a whole range of infrastructure. Guyana is located in South America, around Amazonia and the Caribbean. The surface area is 84,000 square meters, and it's not densely population. So we have a lot of issues in Guyana because 50% of the population is under 25 years of age, and 30% of houses are living below the poverty line. So we need to bring to this territory and its population, and it's going to be a smart territory. So on the overseas department, we had to launch or sign two projects, one or fiber optic, and it is a high debit network, and the other one is a satellite project which allows us to have a low base orbit, and this has allowed isolated communities to have a network connection. Sovereignty, we are putting in place and signing a partnership with Ella League, and this is for Guyana an opportunity to have an underground cable. So this will allow transmission of data, so security of data transmission to Europe. As for digital users, so digital inclusion, I think CODIA is crucial. We also have another platform which we are strengthening also the e-health solution. So we have e-education with COVID-19. We know that digitalization has become a crucial tool for our operation. So it's important to connect to the rest of the world. We have to develop digitalization culture and cybersecurity. Let me conclude my presentation. This is to tell you that I set up my roadmap as a delegate on digital innovation, and we have 3 strategic areas and 3 principles. Area 1 is to to provide digital inclusion, to support transformation of the society, Area 3, performance and resilience, to develop territories in a sustainable manner with 3 principles: inclusive, sustainable digitalization. And as the saying goes, alone you go fast, but together we go further. So as the President was saying, I have the objective that is to make Guyana, to bring Guyanan people to, we need to move on to excellence. And for that to be possible, we need smart territory. And the territorial community will make sure that Guyana gets its right place. Thank you. Thank you, Madam. Thank you for this interesting thoughts, your digital vision to support SSE. Daouda, if I stay on the same line, what can you tell us in Dakar? What kind of initiatives have you promoted now? Good afternoon. Let me introduce myself. My name is Daouda Gueye, 5th Deputy Mayor, City of Dakar, responsible for new technologies. As a City Council, we have the obligation to address problems facing Dakar residents. And in this regard, digital technology will allow us to actually address some of those problems. You see that digital technology is present in all projects and programs of the City of Dakar. And I can say that today it is the kingpin. On the 3 projects, we can categorize them in 3 major parts. We have projects that has to do with user services. Let me explain. At the City of Dakar, if I take scholarships, we have a budget of 3 billion that we actually put for scholarship. With digital technology, we were able to dematerialize all the process, all the application. So through an IT interface, Dakar residents can formulate scholarship requests. There are other processes that are being dematerialized because we don't just have scholarships, but we have support to those people in need during like major festivities like Tabaski or Easter. In addition, we have another part relating to health. And health, as you know, is a top priority for the Mayor of Dakar. You need to know that the City Council of Dakar is helping Dakar residents to get treatment in hospitals, and we actually allow them to get treatment, and all this part will be dematerialized. As for the second component, it's young people's employability. So training is key. We have many projects in this regard, and by the end of the year we are going to train 500 young people on certification with Amazon Web Service, AWS, but we also have other more structuring projects on the training component. It should be noted that as I speak, we have more than 10 million opportunities globally. So this is a job creation driver, and we have to support Dakar residents so that they can have a decent job. Furthermore, there is a component on the reduction of digital divide. We have a project which consists in providing internet to Dakar residents through leafy technology within it, and this will be used. It will use light. The city of Dakar, we have more than 60,000 luminous points, and through this luminous point with leafy technology, we'll be able to allow internet access to all Dakar residents. In this regard, we are moving, we are very fast, and we have a lot of exchanges with the leafy inventor, Mr. Topsu. And very shortly, we are going to start a proof of concept, a POC, with a startup which is based in Côte d'Ivoire, and it's called Leafile. So, as for the three components, user services, employability, and the reduction of digital divide. So you need to know that all this project will contribute to put the city of Dakar in the smart city ecosystem. And this means that we need to guarantee interoperability among the various applications to be developed for these services. But also we need to be able to generate services depending on usages. In this regard, we are working with Atos company with a platform called Urban Data Platform. This platform will aggregate all these solutions to guarantee interoperability on condition that the data model used for each application be identical. So, by way of summary, these are the various projects we are working on at the city of Dakar, and I thank you for your attention.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Gueye. Madam Rattier, I'll get back to you. You mentioned earlier the issue of security. As you are committed in that digital transformation, what can you share with us? As for the territorial of Guyana, we have put in place an association with the West Indies and cybersecurity to sensitize the companies who have the obligation to avoid cyber attacks and train the people. This association is supported by Lancy and NCB, the high bandwidth, which is supporting us to sensitize all the companies in Guyana and the association, the cyber security. Thank you very much. Now talking to the director of the promotion of digital economy and in charge of communication in Senegal. Madam, how does the issue of the SAC is taken into account at the level of your ministry? Thank you very much. I would like to thank the organizers to have invited us to these dialogues. The digital technology has an impact on all our life at all levels, economic, social, environmental, and political, through innovative solutions deployed by the companies and the startups, which every day improve the quality of our citizens. Strong of that conviction, the Senegalese government has considered the digital technology in the heart of its development policy, with the deployment of a strategy for the digital economy. And this strategy has as objective digital technology for all in an efficient ecosystem. It's a strategy which is centered on on man, with the ambition of creating more than 35,000 jobs. And to be able to create those jobs, we have set in place a certain number of projects. The first one, which is a priority for the government, is the promotion of the startups with the Startup Act, which helps the startups to be labelized and give them access to financial solutions. So the Senegalese government, through the delegation of the DARE women, has put in place a digital finance to promote the Senegalese startups at the national and international level. We have also a very structuring project which is called the Diamniadio Digital Park, a platform which is being built where you have an incubator, a training center, and a data center. It's a space which is made available to the private sector to develop their companies. On the issue of digital inclusion, we have a development project on digital entrepreneurship with the different components, capacity building in women in the digital technology, incubation, and financing their enterprises. We also support the handicapped people in helping them to integrate the digital ecosystem through training and fundings. We have an initiative called the Community Multimedia Center, which are connectivity areas on the territorial communities, with the fund for the development of digital technology hosted in the ministry. We are trying to put in place living labs in the territorial communities, and those living labs are innovation centers for creation, to provide support to the youth in digital entrepreneurship. And just to say that we are centered on human and social issues. Most of our policies and social impact aiming at the youth targets and the handicaps. This is what I wanted to say concerning those questions of social inclusion. Thank you very much. I'll get back to Mr. Daouda Gueye from Ville de Dakar. You have enumerated a certain number of initiatives, but how are the projects in Ville of Dakar meet the SSC? A very relevant question. When we position the digital technology in the ecosystem of the SSC, there are two fundamental notions that appear. The first one is collective intelligence, but there's also the notion of gratuity, which means free. For each of these notions, I will tell you how the project that I have named will meet those notions. As for the collective intelligence, in the Ville de Dakar, we have set in place the citizenship watchdog, which represent all the layers of the Dakar community, social community, and they are invited to contribute in the different projects, even in the digital projects. There are, a couple of months ago, Ville de Dakar organized a hackathon for the first time, and during that hackathon, we received 400 projects. The idea of that hackathon, in the framework of the collective intelligence, to give the floor to the Dakar population and invite them to propose solutions through different topics: urban mobility, health, urban development, and e-health. And at the end of the hackathon, we had some laureates, some winners. And among the projects that I spoke about, I talked about support and help which is given to the Dakar people. And at the end of the hackathon, we had two solutions on which we are working now to put them into implementation. The first one was proposed by a startup called Crypto ID, which is going to offer a digital identity to each Dakarois who requests for help on that platform. The second one was proposed by a startup called MKM, and that startup will manage any workflow of dematerialization from the request to the positive or negative request, but that startup will generate statistics that will help us, based on the different communes, how to carry out the distribution of those emergency help aid. That's the first criteria on collective intelligence. As for the second criteria, the one on gratuity of the digital technology tools, and either at the level of the infrastructure or on the applicative layer, I should confess that we are not looking on gratuity, because the solutions that the population in Dakar are proposing us are not free solutions. We accept them. But it is important to talk about that limit, because there is a whole set of acculturation that we need to develop at the SSC regarding the digital technology for the people to understand, but also to show them how it is important to use free technologies in SSC. I'm talking about it. It's important because the objective of this workshop is that beyond the idea of digital technology, to have the Dakar Declaration and to have a digital charter that will normalize the digital technology in SSC. Thank you very much for those additional information. I think we can take contributions from the public. It would be a good thing to hear from them on the first panelists, if they have contributions, before moving on to the next steps. So we are moving on to the second part of the private. If you have questions to Oliabenye, your association is called Connection. Would you please explain your experience with your association, or if you have some messages that you would like to share with the audience? Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Oliabenye. I'm a member of the Executive Office of Connection, and I've been elected at the Paris Mayor Commune. Connection is a hybrid association which has become a training center with the objective of training in bureaucratic skills of the most vulnerable population. If you talk about the most vulnerable populations, we think in particular to refugees, to the first immigrants, but also to the women who were in household but would like to resume professional activity. We also think of the young people in the popular areas, and as you know, when we talk about the youth, we have digital natives, people who have a full control of the social networks, but who do not know how to use Word or Excel. So this connection has the objective of developing these competencies for those people to be able to be employable. So we have different types of programs, national programs. We are in Paris, in the Île-de-France, but also in Lille, Roubaix, in Bordeaux, Bègle, in order to reach out to all types of population, not only urban populations, but peri-urban populations who have some difficulties to have access to jobs. We also have international programs. We are based in Malawi, in Kenya, in Jordania. The objective for us is to say that if somebody is empowered digitally, they are economically empowered, and then we acquire financial independence, and this is what the drive since 2016. We have particularly interesting growth because this object of being able to work with those populations who wish to return on the job market are usually set aside. They only interest the decision makers, territorial communities, and the governmental authorities. I have listened with much attention the preceding contributions. The Deputy Dakar Mayor, when they are organized like Connexion, they can help have competence summaries. And let's take an example. We have a young man who was out of work, out of training, and who wanted to survive. So what we can do is to work at the level of the local mission, working with the youth employment and say what can we do and what can we train you to aim the type of diploma or certification that will enable you to get back on the employment track. We do it with digital advisors in what we call front services houses, where places where you can have all public places are on the territory, where the population can go and say, I'm looking for a job, and I see that in the offer of employment, I require a certain number of competencies in Excel. So we deploy digital advisors in those houses to train those people in developing skills on those specific issues. I think even myself, sometimes I wonder if it would be very useful to have a professional in-service training. We Word, the Excel, and then we realize that we are not really sharp on those issues, that we need more competencies to be more efficient. So we are a training house which is accessible to everyone, whatever their age, whatever their pathway, accidented or not, in order to make sure they have professional inclusion that is sustainable and that is diversified. Thank you very much. Thank you. Just one additional question. I wanted to know if what is the commitment of the, what is the question? Your question, what is it? Didn't get your question, sir. No, we did not. The relationship between your association and the local collectivities. Do you get support or partnership? Yeah. What role does the local authorities play in your activity? The relationship with the local collectivities are very strong. For instance, when the founder, Jimmy Hope, I'll tell you her story. Jean is an American, a young American, who has come to France to continue her studies on social economy. And Jean, who was looking at what was happening in the north of Paris, was said, how come we have people coming to France who have competencies in their countries and who are invited to do their administrative action in order to follow their files for asylum, find it difficult to do it. because they have language problems, but also because they are too agile in social networks, the use of their phone, their smartphone, but not on how they can verify and have administrative monitoring of their personal documentation, and discussing with the territorial collectivities to see how it can be done and how it can help. And we explained to her that there was no mechanism to help those people. So she created that entity in 2016. So the territorial collectivities are the starting point, because they are the one who say, here there is a need, here. We have a percentage of youth who are not in training, who do not have jobs, where you can do something. And the representatives of the territorial collectivity, they are associations who need the type of information to do their work. So this is how it starts. And what we do is we need to carry out some advocacy at the national level, because we do not simply have to take initiatives which are spread all over the place. They have to be coherent. They have to be harmonious in order to make people work in the same direction. We work at very close collaboration with the ministry in charge of digital transformation, the ministry in charge of SSE, ministry in terms of public transformation, and we have a whole panel of government systems that can help us to show us which ways we should use for the implementation of the program. This is very important. There isn't one stakeholder. We are a team. We have an associative entity, and we need collectivities who express their needs to us, and we try to harmonize everything at the governmental level. Yes.
There was a question in the audience, but I would like to give the opportunity to, we give the floor to Mr. Karin. So, it's innovation, the first innovation hub in Africa. Can you explain your activities, your experience, and would you share with the audience what is your activities and all that? Thank you. Where I come from, I'm from the private sector initially. I'm an entrepreneur working across several sectors, mining, aviation, and others, with engineering or engineer profile. So the observation was simple. If we take a look, we are in a world of crisis, and this is no secret. We have social crisis, economic crisis, and environmental crisis. We can name them, political crisis, etc. In my activity within the private sector, I had the opportunity to be vice president of accelerated strategy in Senegal. We have come up with public policies. I think the Joko idea stemmed from the fact that the nexus. We see that all these issues at some point. It's very interesting to see that in the panel you have three different sectors. We are not in an exchange, but we are in a linear monitoring. So we try to do everything in our respective sectors, in our activities. So we're talking about this, but in the daily activity, these problems cannot be solved unless we get around a table. So local actors, private sector, civil society, etc. So in social entrepreneurship, we are completely hybrid. In Senegal, at the beginning, we said we're going to set up a cooperative in the Ministry of Livestock. So it's an agricultural cooperative, breeders cooperative, but not digital sector. So we see that we are still confronted with this type of problem. We are preparing for tomorrow's world. So as the elected representative from Guyana said, so the final purpose is to better population's living conditions. So if we get back to the values, this is to like the crisis we are facing, whether they are political and everything, is a crisis of confidence. Today, multinational companies like COVID-19 was a starting point. We have a political crisis, so we are in an environment which is very challenging, which is an explosive environment. We need to get together and discuss. And in that discussion, we need to come up with intelligence and proper solutions. So digital technology is an opportunity to exchange, to share solutions, to know that one solution that is tested in Dakar can be replicated in Guyana, in Côte d'Ivoire. On agriculture, we worked on a cassava product, and we said, well, we have the same thing in Guyana on cassava. So today, in digital technology, nobody knows where we go. So the director of Google have just resigned because he's afraid, he's concerned. So we are on the same setting with the same challenges. So farmers, African farmers that are on mobile, so they are active. Everything is evolving, and the problem we have today is digital technology is at an exponential speed. We don't even have time to digest the innovation we have. This is the good news to hear that the ministry is working on a solution which is rolled out in Europe. During the Finnish president, this was used. So we're going to create a nexus between actors of local collectivities and citizen actors and businesses, etc. But we should be recognized that in the exercise, we've been working there for 13 years. In Dakar, initially, now we are active in 8 countries, and I'm with Fatoumata, who is the director of Senegal, and she's doing an extraordinary job. So this is a team work. And today we are in 8 countries, and we see that we have the issue of bringing everybody around the table. So we had we have a huge grant. We did not even use 50% of the grant. So this is weird. So we can have grants like that. Coming back to the values, during the local government meetings, we had a session on digital cities, and we have an alliance of digital cities, and one of the recommendations was, when we talk about smart cities, it's about getting back to the human. Everybody has talked about that. Africa is not TEPCO. It's a technology at the service of the human, and this is something very important to not be technocentric. We have X and Y developer that will come and set up this technology, but the city of Dakar approach is an open source. platform. So in the approaches, are we going to move on to close owners? Are we going to open approaches? We can share among ourselves. And I think there is an important step which is going further, which is the notion of common good. You have the Nobel Prize in 2009 that defined common rules, and I think today our shareholder in open source, we were working in electronic management of document, and I may say that we had some problems, because we have some problems with technology. So you may develop a project and then you may share and you give you value. So it's something. So when this has the value, you need to respect this value. And then so how do we get there? So the good we're going to define should address a community, and this will work towards preserving this good for future generations. And furthermore, we may come up with commercial approaches, because do we have a conflict? Commercial approaches and opposition between the two, public service. So we can actually get around this common good and come up with marketing solutions. So we need to define new rules, and I think that's what we should do. And I'm going to close on this. This is really, we have a very concrete example during COVID-19. For the first time that I'm intervening on public policy for 1999, I've been in this sector, and spontaneously we have all actors from the ministry, the presidency, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Digital Technology, experts, NGOs. So activists, they get together around the AlloCovid platform to give an answer to COVID. And they wanted to find out solutions. When we are in the face of a challenge, something that challenges the whole world, each and everyone will try to contribute. So this platform was set in place, and spontaneously we have this logic which give a value to SSE. So therefore, this approach to get together to find solutions, we need to really sustain it, and we need just to regulate it. That's it. Thank you for this input. Before taking contribution from the public, I would like to talk to Madam Gueye. When we talk about improving citizens' living conditions, it is to facilitate access to education. We know that one of the major obstacles in Africa, and in Senegal in particular, the Ivorian minister was talking about that lack of declaration of children at birth. I know that your association has initiatives in this. What can you tell us? So what is the contribution of digital technology? Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to share our thoughts on the issue. My name is Nafi Gueye. I'm a technical advisor in entrepreneurship, founder for the cause of civil registries. In Senegal, we have formed to address this issue. And since 2019, we've been working on this issue. And today, we're working digital technology to reach our people. I would like to draw your attention on an interesting issue. When we talk about smart territories, when we talk about digital technology, I think we should conceptualize this. Today, if we want to compare with Europe, the US, so we'll go awry because we have African realities which are such that access to information, access to tools, access to infrastructure is not obvious. Today, when we talk about digital technology with this breakthrough that Karim was referring to, if we want to quickly to transform these cities digitally, we may not get there. The young lady, I think that there are many people that are living far away in the regions and they do not have access to digital technology. Or if this is the case for them, the use of digital technology is just using social media like FB, TikTok, and others. So this is an issue. How today should we refocus this issue of digital technology and conceptualize it with reality? What should we do to proffer solutions? As an organization, when we want to carry out actions, the first thing we thought about was to put in place a digitalization, a mechanism to digitalize civil status. Our system for birth registration is still manual for a country like Senegal, and it's not just Senegal, but this is the reality of a number of African countries. We need to move forward. Today there are initiatives that are initiated by the government, but we still have some problems. We do not have synergic actions which will help to create a bridge between social reality, environmental reality, and innovation in digital technology. Today, it was something we should think about. Another thing we do not talk about when we talk about digital technology is that there are some regulatory limitations. As a civil society organization, I cannot handle national data of people. Even if I want to create a civil status digitalization initiative, I should reach out to the government because it is up to the government to address this. So, in the light of this, we said we're not going to move towards digitalization, which we thought was a priority. It's a priority, but for the government. What we're going to do is to sensitize the government and all civil society organizations or public organizations by telling them today it is urgent to do something on civil status registration and make some information accessible. I'm living in Tambacounda in Koussanar village in the south of Senegal. When I need my birth certificate, I have to cover 400 kilometers to go get my certificate of birth, or ask my mother to produce it and send it to public transportation. There is no data security whatsoever. We said we are at an age where for a country like Senegal, it's important to bring concrete solutions, user-friendly, and which allow each and everyone to understand each and everybody's responsibility with regard to civil status and what the government should do. What is the contribution of the government with regard to civil society organization? Today we're talking about SSE. My friend from the City Council of Dakar has talked about solutions that may issue societal issues. But most of the contests we see, they promote economy or capitalization. Everything we're doing as competition is to reward successful business models. So we do not motivate young people to think about other issues, to think about digital technology or this new form of innovation. So organizations like ours, we find it difficult to have financial resources or logistic resources to apparently reach out to people. Recently, I did a video on Component 1, and I think many of you have seen it. And I was talking to what extent it was important. We had to produce a 1-minute video which impacted about 3 to 4 million people. In 48 hours, the video actually reached more than 1 million people through the social media, and it was free of charge. And this shows to what extent digital technology can be a means to reach out people, but it may have some limitations in youth initiatives. What I would like to say is it's good that we talk about these initiatives, but at the end of the day, it's better to do sensitization on the use, the importance of digital technology, but also to help young people to understand it. If you ask someone to do a spreadsheet table, that person is unable to do it, and he got degrees. He has been trained. He has access to these tools. So how come that someone who has access, unlimited access to these things, cannot just do a spreadsheet table? For me, as an organization, as exists, what we're trying to do is to use the digital technology in order to reach our technology, because each and everyone has a smartphone. But is it enough? I don't think so. I think it would be interesting. The government is making efforts, because recently DGID has a platform which informs people on request. When you're asking something on land, you can get an SMS, inform you about the status of your request. There is a NECAL project which promotes civil status, digitalizing civil status, and when we talk about Senegal service today, which is being established across Senegal, for me, these are initiatives which can be favorable to the population, but it's more than important to refocus things. And in Africa, we are lagging behind on this issue. And before pushing people to move forward on these issues, I think there is need to sensitize them on the dangers. And the government is the instrumental actor which should decentralize those services alongside organizations like ours that are more accessible and that are more in line with the community. And through communication, they can share this kind of information.
Thank you very much. We are now concluding the second part. If you have questions on the first or second part, now is the time for you to do it. I'll get back to you. Good afternoon. Thank you very much. Happy to have had you here. My name is Ndiaye. I'm a municipal councillor in the Gueule Tapée Fass Colobane commune. Madame Daouda Gueye has spoken what I wanted to say, because I just wanted, most of the time, the problems that most Senegalese people are confronted with, which is related to birth certificates, civil status. And as a professor, I'm confronted with this type of problem. Sometimes I had problems of birth certificates and who were supposed to have exams, and they wanted even to drop out. I had to carry out, needed to contact parents who, or a mother who did not have any birth certificate. It was very difficult to save that. It was 2 years before doing her end of junior secondary exams. I managed to do it. It motivated me. It enabled me to have an association, what I call Identity Without Borders. So I just simply want to say that this has helped me to ask questions to the Mayor Deputy of the Ville de Dakar last in Odbin, in that Senegal service, a project to dematerialize a birth certificate, which was supposed to happen in the 19 Dakar communes. The second question is for Madame Ndiaye Bitilokho. from the digital technology economy. We've seen that the Senegalese civil servants have problems to have documents for to have a payslip, but still much is to be done. So I wanted to know, she's becoming a headache for the Senegalese civil servants. So we will answer after. Thank you very much. I wanted to congratulate the Ville of Dakar and the organizers of this forum and talk about education and the digital technology. The panelists have talked about it. Education is, in our collectivities, is a transferred competence. I think it would be important to see how to apply digital technology in education in order to improve the quality. We all know that in our schools, when I take the elementary school, because I am the chairperson of a community association that works to help the schools, but we realize that our schools lack everything. My question is, how can digital technology contribute in improving the quality of education? And if there have experiences that have been developed in your local territories supporting the quality of education, it would be interesting to share those experiences with us. Who is the question addressed to? Good evening to all the people, and congratulate the Ville of Dakar for the organization of this, and congratulate all the participants. Two questions. The first one, Madam Gueye talked about 4 million Senegalese people who do not have access to the civil status registry. First of all, I think there requires a sensitization period, because the people who don't declare their children, we also know that we have a health system which is quite reliable in terms of digitally speaking. So why don't you couple in Senegal when a child is born? You need a week to give the child a name. So if there was a shortened period for a naming ceremony, that would have helped. The fact of staying for 7 weeks, knowing that in America, before the child leaves the hospital, he has an identity. And make sure that identity cards are made compulsory for everyone. If the people have problems to have ID, don't you think that it also can affect the rest? Talking about the social and solidarity economy, we talk much about the youth. We talk about we talk about the women, but the people who will be 60 will be has-been after that. Why don't you think that the children should be part of this SSE? Don't you think that the children should be left to die like that? Is it the child or the old person? I don't know. Thank you very much for your questions. The last one. We'll stop there now. We have 3 more people. Very briefly, in relation to the question, I think we've thought of it, but I think the 7 days do not have any impact on the declaration. We start talking about the late declaration from 1 month and later. It can even go down to 365 days. So the 7 days do not pose problem. Now for the connection that can exist in the different hospital entities, we are working on it. We are trying to set in place an application, a software that can help the state to connect all the hospital infrastructures from birth to the declaration before the courts. So, and as I was saying before, we do not have to play on personal data, private data. Other Senegalese people have thought of that initiative. Unfortunately, when we put in place at the state level, we do not do the sourcing of existing solutions created by Senegalese to start from there instead of going to find people outside the country to do it for us. We believe this will be taken into account. We hope for that. We are working to connect the commune, the town council, the municipality, the hospital, to avoid also the frauds, because with the courts, if it is not used digitally, somebody can be born 2, 3, 4 times, because if somebody needs a younger age for their birth certificate, they can be born again, and there is an open door for a lot of frauds. For the electoral audit, I was coordinating in 2000, 2002, 2007 for the presidential elections, and during the passage between President Diop and Watt, but a lot of controversy where we had a lot of pressure, as you can imagine. We should know that in the 80s, 90s, the Ville de Dakar was the first one in Africa, with the support of the Canadians, to digitalize its civil status. The digital ID card was the most advanced. We have systems in the foreign office which are there since the 1960s, which is very rare for an African country. What is sad is that there has been a regression. The civil status solution, we had hundreds of them. They were funded twice, even 3 times. In the local collectivities, they are the ones who collect the birth certificates. It's centralized, and then it appears on the identity card. So there is a... On n'entend rien du tout. Sans micro, on n'entend pas. Venu un peu. Il baisse le micro. How do you do any planning? So this raises very serious questions which are there, with everything that it required into a crisis related to the central file. At the time, we went down to the core file to know the number of voters which were no longer related to their ID card in the electoral vote. So this is a real topic. And this is something we should say. We had an ID card which we say the panacea was it was a digital with fingerprints, but in Senegal it's not true. The digital fingerprints is not on our ID card, it's the code. So we have lost the fingerprint. So one reliable human element cannot control the card. It's just the algorithm that can do it. So we get into some ethical questions that were raised when we did the audit of the central file. So there are very issues which are there. We have experts in Senegal and international experts. And so these are a complexity of ideas. Okay, so may give the floor to the public authorities of Senegal, and then give the floor to Mr. Rattier, and then Madam Ndiaye. Space. It is an initiative of AADE. It's not a Dakar city initiative. The representative, Deputy Mayor, is not feeling well. She had to leave, but it is the initiative of ADE. We are not involved in that project. One precision for Madame Gueye in relation to the hackathon that was organized by Ville de Dakar. As we conceived it, the idea was not to encourage a completely formula-ended solution. Our objective was not also to give laureate winners, but there were only 3 startups who got prizes. The others did not get anything. Because for us, we are interested in the idea. Let me give you one concrete example. I was talking about the crypto ID startup, which suggests digital identity. But the solution is not complete, as we know that nowadays a digital identity should be backed by a blockchain technology. But the youth who are in that startup do not know how to work with that technology. So we incubated them in the company incubator, and they will be sensitized. They'll be acculturated to that blockchain technology. And if you have time after this panel, you could visit the village of the innovations, because the startups have started their exhibitions, and you could have the answers to all your concerns. Thank you very much. Now we are moving to the third part with 3 interventions. People working in the solidarity private sector, but you are invited here as an expert, so you can explain. Jean-Michel Sahu, you are a consultant and professor, but you have also worked much in France. Would you please explain your experience and the lessons learned through that activity to share with us here? Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. After this long discussion, I would like to introduce myself, Jean-Michel Sahu. I am essentially in research because I have written a lot of research. I have written more than 150 articles. And for some years now, projects, because I also have another title, which is one of a consultant, and the last one, because I'm an editorialist by CAMES and Indexes, in which objective is to get the practitioners together, the university practitioners on dialogues on concrete issues. And through ESF, I would like to share with you 2 important experiences. I have participated in the digitalization of in Cameroon, and also to share with you a crowd, and I will explain a little bit why this experience is interesting and could be transferred in Africa, replicable in Africa. If we look at the impact of digitalization in the organizational, I'm not interested in at the individual level. Sometimes we can have in the long term that I would describe as external and internal objectives. Internally, we'll try to improve the processes. We can digitalize to reach, to make efficiency and better performances. And there are 2 things that appear very clearly, but we find them not only in the SS, we also find it in all those SMEs who are looking to digitalize. Without any support, without any training, it won't work. I'm insisting on that. We can put in place processes and to change the processes, to reduce the mass of paper used, to reduce administrative work. But if there is no support to the people in that process of change, it will not work. And the most important part that I can call external part, because digitalization makes it possible to have more opportunities to digitalize the product, to increase savings by offering an account to each customer. And it enables the microfinance institution that I have supported to solve a certain number of problems that they had and have outreach to new customers. And this opportunity aspect is the most important, because thanks to digitalization, we will be able, for example, to set up platforms, raise funds, and I told you about this experience that is dear to me, where in terms of research, to bring a neutral vision to see when the accounts are done by the promoters of platforms, they tend to add more things, not to present the problems, to hide them under the paper. And so research will help publish this in articles, and we ourselves are submitted to an assessment process. We should be irreproachable. And on that platform, what is remarkable is just to give you some details. In the Val de Loire region, we had projects in the SS, but which were not well organized. We know there are a lot of people with a lot of ideas, and to help the people to organize and improve the structure of their project and to give them support for those projects to be developed and reach a certain level of maturity. This is, and the second problem for, as is the case for each problem for the SS or for other, or in the economy or in the high technology, is to find the money. And thanks to that platform of crowdfunding, they were able to call on the citizens to finance, to bring the money. And if the citizens themselves bring the money, the region will have one complementary euro and set up a partnership with some banks. He would add one supplementary money, which means for each collected euro from the population, the banks will add 3 euros. So during that money-raising activity, the 20 projects were able to collect 200,000 euros. So if you multiply it by 3, and then you have again 1,600 contributors. So these types of projects show that, and this is one of the strongest value of SSE, if you have a share, the entities who will choose the project will help to their organization, but the citizens are the ones who hold the power. So we can create a virtuous circle, finance projects which irrigate a whole territory. So to conclude, if I don't want to be too long, what is it that we can use from that experience in Africa, or in Senegal in particular? In Africa, citizens might not be able to provide the funds, but you have a diaspora who would like to fund the project, but they don't have visibility, enough visibility. So the recommendations that we can make is to set up this digital platform to present the different projects of the social and solidarity economy to that diaspora, and help to raise money and with inform subsidized by the cities, or find some other complementary partners. This is one recommendation.
Second, do you think that digital economy can be a lever to accelerate economy in a sustainable, circular, and solidarity manner? Legally speaking, what are the instruments we could use to promote greater circularity from your standpoint, but generally from the European Union? Good afternoon, each and everyone. My name is Carmen, lawyers. I would like to thank you. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm honored. I'm very happy and grateful. Let me repeat the question that has been asked. We have some questions. So the first question was on opportunities. So the observation we may make is, I'm going to talk about we are settled in Europe, and more we are moving towards the product or service. In the value chain, we're going to take a look at the product, and we're going to make sure that in Europe it will require a number of conditions. I see in digital technology the possibility to strengthen these sustainability and circularity issues, knowing that the promotion of digital technology, I'm talking about artificial intelligence, I think the internet, metadata, or the use of blockchain, this will make it possible to move towards circular economies and more sustainable economies. When we take a look at the North-South relations, industrialization has started in Europe, and other legal experts, we may think about the issue of responsibility. Today, it's true that the South is catching up, and during conferences of informal economy, the South is catching up. And a UN report recently indicated that 2015 it's true that resources are limited. The planet has reached its capacity, and in digital technology I see this opportunity, and we see this opportunity through the customers we support. We are moving towards this objective. This is shared by the North, the South, Europe, and South. We're moving towards this notion of sustainability. Do you think that digital economy can be a lever to accelerate circular economy? The acceleration lever. I would like to recall what the time for law is not the time for economy. It's true that the legislative process, the normative process takes time, but time is lacking. Actually, it's necessary. What we note is that the civil society is have more and more expectation from states. Currently, Switzerland and France we appeal with regard to lack of action against climate global warming. Today, citizens are using legal tools, national, supranational tools, in order to put states in front of their responsibility. So the European Human Rights Court does not enshrine environmental law, but for some years it's developing a number of jurisprudence on climate. And in Strasbourg, we realize that citizens, communes, I think it seems to me that France is not making any action on global warming. So they're claiming climate rights, or rights which they think have been denied, have not been respected. And I also see the question at the state level, like the use of tools such as Cisco tools, taxation. I was talking about responsibility of states from the north. Nobody feels like, no state feels like assuming the responsibility of what is going on, what is happening. And we are observing that taxation can be a tool can be a tool to remedy and give more responsibility to actors, whether private companies or individuals. We need to move towards more and more sustainable societies. We need to be careful with this tool, though, because they are often rejected by the Swiss population. Recently, we have the revision of the law on CO2, and this law, so the Swiss people rejected this law, and observers were saying that this is partly rejected because there is a taxation issue which was not accepted by the Swiss people. Another aspect which I think it was commenting is on innovation, the use of digital technology, metadone, artificial intelligence, etc. But we should also take into account intellectual property aspects, and states should facilitate with support startups on this issue. But I think it's important for competitiveness purposes, we need to capture intellectual property questions. And the last question.
Je pense que vous avez fait le tour, vous en avez répondu en même temps. C'était la question relative aux instruments juridiques utilisés en Suisse.
So we have several types of legal instruments. In Switzerland, we have a law on environment, which deals with various topics, particularly. For France, the specificity of France is France is part of the European Union, and at the EU we have regulations and directives, and I think there is a 2010 directive on energy products and that are directly implemented. So directives should be subject to a retransmission in the country through legal instruments that are decided by a law, an ordinance, or a set of things or instruments. But we should not lose sight of what we call the soft law. Soft law is a set of rules on a normative value which is rather limited. We're going to talk about action plans, so corporate social responsibility and recommendation. And the idea is to bring things on a soft manner and to give more responsibility to people in order not to get in a normative process which may seem cumbersome somehow.
Notre dernier intervenant, Monsieur François.
Okay, thank you, Mr. François. Okay, so you are from Argentina and on the Dunia platform. Will you explain to bring some comments on what has already been said Thank you, Cheikh, for this. Thank you very much. How are you? I'm doing these translations to see at this stage of our activity. As I am the last one to speak on this beautiful musical partition, I am going to summarize my ideas and to see the approach which has been brought about. I am Francis Fuller as a coordinator and founder of a digital platform which was born around the World's Earth Summit in 2012 in Rio. You know, a series of summits have been organized by the United Nations. The economy, the 80s were very rich in the multilateral spirit. 2012 was the last Earth Summit, and there we said it is time to take the digital tools and make them available and launch an ownership system. And there was a lot of activist networks working on communication, circular economy, ecological transition, etc., etc. I found myself in this initiative, which is modest and global, which is multicultural, and I want to share that experience with you and do the summary. How do you make a summary? It's very difficult, but I'm going to do it in 3 main points, which, in my opinion, are in relation with the global discussion that we are having here, from what I have heard from this panel and the exchanges that we had in parallel and in this forum. The first point was we are no longer in the strategic matrix, as was the case about 10 years ago. No sound. No sound. No. Hyper-communication, logics between, articulation between customer, companies and other associated partners, with borders between product and services. This is why we're talking about the visual industry, and it's the particularity of this digital economy is a digitalized economy, hyper-capitalistic, operating with competitive and monopolistic competitions. You all know the GAFA phenomenon with those big digital enterprises. And if we look at 2 sectors of the economy, we learn very rapidly that the training of the monopoly is becoming the rule in industrialized economy. And that phenomenon is emphasized by, and for me this is an important conclusion, because this means that the economy in which we are and the one in which we'll find ourselves tomorrow is an economy where we have to change into combative soldiers, an economy of soldiers. In Senegal, in France, in Côte d'Ivoire, the national economies will expose to fightings and economic concentration. The China, the United States will give us a clear indication on the direction in which we are going. And for me, it's very important to start thinking of all this from this social economy. And the third point, some prospects. 3 things that seem fundamental for us to move forward in terms of danger is that capacity to have a combative economy is a good niveau for the social economy, is that digitalization, information in general, we transform the relationship and give a lever that they did not have before. I can take the example of the Shell company, which was a couple of years ago, following contamination on the coast, was set aside by the ejection of some NGO. It was the information is used as a weapon, a non-violent weapon. I think in Senegal you have some examples. I could talk about Senelec, this idea of smart counters, which has given to, in other words, there is a level for us in the SSE to take control in order to see how to use the information to carry combative actions against the actors who imprison us in the system, who exclude us, who take part of our ground. Second point, and I think we have to work on economic models. We do not have models to which to project in relation to this digitalized economy that I have discussed a minute ago. We have some ideas that oscillate between technophilia, technocentrism, as my friend has commented. We have the Aurelian scenario, which is being criticized, and the reason why we should be worried is the totalitarian aspect of the digital economy. So we need new integrating models that we do not have yet. So we need to work on that, and maybe in these conversations we can start building and meeting together a certain number of things. And to conclude, I think there is no economy with a promotion of strategic powers that would set in place the infrastructures. All the work that we have done on our platform these last years was supported on infrastructure put in place by government, local government, regions, with which we can set up partnership, but their reforms, the infrastructures require a strategic state to have a strategic advocacy. But I think we have a strong affirmation on the strategic role that those states will play. Thank you very much. We are already 10 minutes past the time you were allocated for the next session. Have the time to take questions. I would just suggest to conclude this session with Mr. Pierre's intervention, who is from the Mayor of Dakar. Microphone. But before giving the microphone, I would like to thank you all for your participation, and to all the interventions and all the interpreters who are in the background to help share that information. Merci. Thank you very much. I would like to get back to the question raised by Mr. Ndiaye in relation to the inclusion of the seniors in the SSE. Is not measured in terms of number of employment or turnover. The importance of an SSE is measured on the impact it has on the community. And the issue that you are raising is addressed to companies like Tech, which is making its best to give a better life to digital companies and to insert seniors in the digital. I have this Ivorian platform which works on putting in touch the seniors on that platform with a real impact. For Mr. Gueye's question relative to the digital technology and education, digital education can be cause dropout, and in the city of Dakar we are working with the direction of studies to see how to adapt the students on the use of the digital technology for them to use the social networks and not demonstrated the limits of our current economy. We have to resolutely converge towards a more sustainable economy, a more resilient economy, towards an economy that is more centered on man. And we believe that this forum, this SSE forum, will be in the heart of our concerns all over the world. And there is no doubt that the digital technology would be the catalyst to carry out and set up that new economy. Thank you very much. Thank you for your participation, and we are now closing this session. Yeah.
Nous allons prendre la photo de famille, c'est ça?
To have a family photo. Thank you very much.